your house at 852 Middle Street on Sullivan's Island illustrates the importance of location of a site. The dwelling was originally built around 1880 and served in its early years reportedly as Brady's Tavern. Location, location, location is one of real estate's dictums. Remember, at the time the dwelling was built, the ferry boats brought people to Sullivan's Island from Mount Pleasant and from Charleston, and they landed not too far from this house at what is called the Point. You can imagine on a hot summer's day in August, after you've come from Charleston or Mount Pleasant on the ferry, and you land on the island at the Point, but before you get on your horse-drawn trolley, you spot Brady's Tavern on the left. What an ideal place to stop for some cool libation, and especially if you're coming to visit your mother-in-law and her family. It could brace you for the visit. Now, the house was a tavern for a number of years, but in 1911, it was purchased by James T. Maloney and his wife, Margaret Hartnett Maloney. Mr. Maloney was a ship's chandler on East Bay Street in downtown Charleston in the Adges Wharf area. The house itself is actually irregular in shape. It has a screened porch that stretches across the main block, and the entrance has a standard door with the side lights and a transom. In addition, the back of the house has a screened porch, which a family member told me was also sometimes used as a summer dining room. The house was actually a summer dwelling. It has no chimney. The house has got massive wooden shutters, unlike any others on Sullivan's Island. Most houses had shutters, but these are in a league all its own. The house at one time had a panoramic view of the marsh, the back of the house, a panoramic view of the marsh, the cove, Mount Pleasant, and other points. But at that particular early time in its history, the lot reached actually to the marsh. But quite a few years ago, someone with political connections apparently got a permit to fill in the marsh, which of course you couldn't do today. And Ann Moore, who summered there at the time, told me she fought it as long as she could afford a lawyer. But she and the neighbors eventually gave up. The Cove Inlet Bridge was very close to the property, and when the family would come over in the summer, and Ann Moore's father would listen to the fights on the radio, the bridge tender would frequently leave his house at the bridge and come to listen to the fights also. If a boat came, the boat would blow its horn, the bridge tender would run back to the bridge and open it. Once the boat passed through, the bridge tender would come back and continue watching the fights. So the history of that bridge and the history of this house are quite closely intertwined. The interior of the house is unique among the old houses on Sullivan's Island because it is actually a time capsule. This family was definitely not part of the throwaway generation. In Charleston, they lived at 53 Elizabeth Street, which is just a few doors north of the Aiken-Rhett Mansion in downtown Charleston, which is a house museum. Initially, the family brought furniture over just for the use of the island house. And as you go from room to room in this house, you see furniture, memorabilia, other objects that were part of the different generations. Of course, once Dr. Lawrence built his trolley with the 8-mile round trip to Long Island, which he changed the name to Isle of Palms because he wanted to develop it as a resort, Brady's Tavern had lost the importance of its location. And that's why it became a family dwelling instead of I guess you could say, a public tavern.